You guys know it's a good day when Kamala Harris manages to piss off the absolute worst, most corrupt, most conservative Democrats in the country. Or I should say, so-called Democrats or former Democrats. So Kamala Harris managed to make Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema both throw a little hissy fit and a tantrum over something she said that was mega based. So I think, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyrsten Sinema became an independent, right? I believe she did. Yes, she did. Did Manchin do it also? I feel like he may have done it also, but I'm not 100% on that. But anyway, again, just for those of you who don't know, these two senators Kyrsten Sinema is about to not be one, and Manchin is retiring, so he's about to not be one too. But they are the main reason why the entire Build Back Better agenda didn't get through. So Build Back Better was literally the biggest transformation of the U.S. economy since the New Deal. It had so many good policies in there. Bernie Sanders was one of the people who wrote it. There was just great stuff. And they took a hatchet to it. And they made it so that it was only the Inflation Reduction Act, which is what eventually did get passed, was maybe 25% of what was originally in Build Back Better. And even the Inflation Reduction Act had stuff that we could point to and say, that's good, right? But if Build Back Better got passed, oh my God. Kamala Harris would be like 13 points up right now if that got passed. You could thank Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin for being the main problem with fighting back against that and softening it and weakening it massively. Okay, so that's who they are. That's their record. They also are the biggest whores to industry on the Democratic side. I mean, as corrupt and corporate as many other Democrats are, these two are in a league of their own. They are honestly more like Republicans in terms of their fundraising. All right, so here we go. Kamala Harris on Wisconsin Public Radio calls for piercing Senate's 60-vote rule for abortion. That's the filibuster. Quote, I think we should eliminate the filibuster for Roe versus Wade and get us to the point where 51 votes would be what we need to actually put back in law the protections of reproductive freedom. Wow. Okay, so looks like we actually have the clip. All right, let's listen.
I've been very clear. I think we should eliminate the filibuster for Roe and we need and get us to the point where 51 votes would be what we need to actually put back in law the protections for reproductive freedom and for the ability of every person and every woman to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do.
Now, I need you to understand how not controversial that is. Roe v. Wade had, depending on what poll you look at, over 60% approval rating, some over 70% approval rating. I mean, Americans view it plain and simple as this is a woman's right to control her own body. And under the framework of Roe, by the way, just so we're clear, states, if they want to, can ban late-term abortions. But it's just saying, hey, before a certain line, before fetal viability, this is the woman's right, and the government can piss off, and anybody else can piss off, right? Wildly popular. The point she's making is, hey, in a Senate that has 100 votes, I think 51 should beat 49. That's what she said. That is literally the least controversial thing I've ever heard in my life. It's like saying, hey, I know we're a constitutional republic and a representative democracy. Let's actually abide by the democracy part of the representative democracy, right? So simple, so straightforward, so correct. Okay, wildly popular, all that stuff. Well, as I said, it triggered the worst Democrats in the country. Here we go. Manu Raju of CNN comes out and says, new Joe Manchin, a staunch defender of the filibuster, tells us he won't endorse Kamala Harris now over her vow to gut the filibuster to codify Roe. Quote, shame on her. Manchin, who is retiring at year's end, said in the Capitol, she knows the filibuster is the holy grail of democracy. That's Orwell 101. Orwell 101. How is it the holy grail of democracy if the whole point of the filibuster is to be anti-democratic? Democratic is 51 votes beats 49 votes. The filibuster says you need 60 votes in order to win. How can you say that's the holy grail of democracy? It is literally anti-democratic. Now, you could defend it if you want and like it if you want, but you cannot say it's the holy grail of democracy. No way. He continues, it's the only thing that keeps us talking and working together. That's not true at all. That's not true at all. You could still have Republicans cross the aisle, even if it's 51 votes to get through, and on Roe, you probably would. If she gets rid of that, then this would be the House on steroids. Now that Harris has vowed to gut the filibuster on this issue, Manchin said he won't back her for president. Quote, "That ain't going to happen," he said. "I think that basically can destroy our country, and my country is more important to me than any one person or any one person's ideology. I think it's the most horrible thing." So in other words, the rhetoric he's using against Kamala Harris for wanting to eliminate the filibuster vis-a-vis Roe is stronger language than like for Trump on January 6th when he literally tried to end the peaceful transfer of power in this country. He thinks eliminating the filibuster for Roe is, quote, destroying our country. Now, just so you understand, Manchin signaled just a couple of weeks ago that he could endorse Harris, but this made him change his mind because he's so offended, he's so outraged by changing the filibuster. More on that in a second, by the way, because these people, they talk about the filibuster as they literally called it the holy grail of democracy. The filibuster wasn't even around for the founding of the country. The founding fathers didn't put the filibuster in there. The idea is that it's this unchanging thing which is so important to the functioning of the country. That is not true. It came much later, and it's been changed countless times. Okay, more. Here we go. Kirsten Sinema comes out in response to Kamala saying she'll get rid of the filibuster for Roe, to state the supremely obvious: eliminating the filibuster to codify Roe v. Wade also enables a future Congress to ban all abortion nationwide. What an absolutely terrible, short-sighted idea. In other words, we can use democracy to do something good now, but what if democracy is used for something bad later? Yeah, but the whole point of a democracy is you give the voice to the people and you govern accordingly. And sometimes it'll swing left, sometimes it'll swing right. But the other thing is, if you did have a 51 vote Republican majority to take away a right to an abortion and to ban abortion nationwide, the next election would be a Democratic landslide, the likes of which we haven't seen since fucking FDR. Okay? People don't agree with that. People don't like that. And if Republicans want to overreach and do that, there will be consequences for that. But basically, she's saying here, we shouldn't do democracy because sometimes bad things can happen in democracy. A bad thing can happen in any fucking system. And guess what? You might get some bad results if you have a democratic system. You also could get some good results. So, this literally like total anti-democratic mindset is what they're laying out here. Okay, so now let me give you more about the filibuster, because the way people talk about this, they honestly, like Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, have no fucking idea about the history of the filibuster. They suck it off on a daily basis and act like it's so important. They don't know the first fucking thing about it. So, first of all, as I pointed out, this was not part of the Constitution. This was not with the founding of the country. They act like it is, and I think they think it is. No, the first filibuster was in 1837. 1837. So it was way after the founding of the country. That's the first point. Second point is, the way the filibuster works today, it's not the original filibuster. The original filibuster, you had to literally, like that movie, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, you had to talk endlessly to try to block getting to a vote on the legislation, right? That's the talking filibuster. Now, you don't even have to do the talk thing anymore. You don't actually have to filibuster as part of the filibuster. I mean, we use filibuster colloquially, in everyday life. If somebody's like dominating the conversation and not letting other people speak, you go, hey man, stop filibustering. You don't even have to filibuster for the filibuster anymore. You just need to say, I invoke the filibuster, and now you need 60 votes to pass something instead of 51. Okay, do they know that? Do they care about that? I don't know. Then we get, the filibuster was reformed in 1996, 2011, 2013, 2017, 2019. For example, one of the recent changes that the Republicans made is you no longer need 60 votes in order to get a Supreme Court pick confirmed. You no longer need 60. Now you need 51 for that. Other exemptions to the filibuster, you of course have the Congressional Review Act. So if Congress wants to overturn recent federal agency regulations, they only need 51 votes. They don't need 60 votes. You, of course, have budget reconciliation. Reconciliation is the process where certain budget-related things, you only need 51 votes. You don't need 60 votes. In fact, in total, there are 161 exceptions to the filibuster. 161. Including things like fast-tracking votes on trade negotiations, that only needs 51. Military base closures, that only needs 51. 161 exceptions to the filibuster. What are we talking about here, bro? And Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are so fucking cucked, they're not even in favor of going back to the original filibuster where they have to talk. They're not even in favor of making more exceptions to the filibuster. They don't want to make any more exceptions. All Kamala is talking about here is one exception to the filibuster to vote on the issue of reproductive rights in Roe v. Wade. She's not saying let's get rid of the filibuster entirely. By the way, she should. But she's not saying get rid of the filibuster entirely. She's not saying go back to the original filibuster where you talk. She's saying let's just add another exception to the filibuster and it'll be a vote on Roe v. Wade. Guys, I've gone back and forth on this a number of times, but I think at the very least you should go back to the original talking filibuster, right? I kind of like the idea of having the filibuster tool for when Democrats are in the minority and they have to try to do something good like block a war or a torture program or something. So I'm not totally against the filibuster, but either go back to the original talking filibuster or just get rid of the filibuster. Or you could even lower the threshold to 55 votes, right? Or you could do whatever you want. It's a rule. It's not part of the Constitution. This is a rule. And of course, it's been used to block progress in a proper direction for so long. The results are in, bro. We know the effect the filibuster has had has been absolutely horrendous. It blocks us from making super important progress on super important issues. And again, and the more important argument is it's literally just anti-democratic. If you support the filibuster as it exists right now, you think 59 votes in favor of something should lose to 41 votes. I mean, just on logic alone, that's preposterous. That's ridiculous. And again, it's not like it gets rid of bipartisanship. You can still have bipartisanship and have 51 votes win something, right? So there are countless exceptions to it. There's all these loopholes. It's not part of the founding of the country, and they still can't help themselves. But look, the fact of the matter is this. What's the main point here? Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are just very, very conservative, corporate, corrupt Democrats. And they truly are. If you go look at their voting record, they kind of agree half with Republicans and half with Democrats. So what they want is, they only want the things that can get 60 votes to pass. They only want more wars and deregulation and tax cuts for the rich. Those are the things they want to pass. That's why they support the filibuster. Because they think all the things that I want to get passed will get the 60 votes. It's all the horrible status quo, conventional wisdom bullshit, which is ruining this country, right? And that's the problem with them. That's the problem with them. And so Kamala's 100% right. I hope she follows through. And if I'm being honest with you guys, I hope it goes further. I hope she either brings back the original filibuster or gets rid of the filibuster entirely. Because just from a simple math perspective, from a logic perspective, 51 should beat 49. In a system that makes sense, 51 beats 49. And sometimes good things will happen, sometimes bad things will happen, but at least we'll have more movement in the country and more changes we could try out in the country. Instead of now, you have this massive body which only exists to suck off the donors and the lobbyists and give them whatever they want, and nothing else can get through. So it's a miracle we got all the things we got, under Biden through. The CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the PACT Act. It's a miracle we got these things through, given how broken the Senate is. So scrap the filibuster. Fuck these people for going after Kamala over this. If Kamala were to eliminate the filibuster and get Roe v. Wade codified into law, her approval rating is going to go up 5 or 10 points. People are going to love it. And they're so chicken shit that they can't even say, even if they agree. I think Kyrsten Sinema agrees with Roe v. Wade, but she's so chicken shit, she can't even say, I actually want to follow through and get it done. Because I'm a process monger, and all I do is concern troll over the downfall of democracy. No, the downfall of democracy is you assholes taking money from Big Pharma, and you assholes taking money from Wall Street and the military-industrial complex and the coal industry, as Manchin does. That's the downfall of democracy. You guys are the problem. It's not Kamala Harris wanting to do something super popular and get rid of the filibuster to give us abortion rights back. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.